Baik. Kita akan mulai sebentar lagi. Ya. Selamat siang Bapak dan Ibu. Terima kasih sudah hadir di webinar hari kedua mengenai tata kelola kelautan, berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan dalam Rencana Pembangunan Nasional. Terima kasih sudah berkenan hadir di webinar hari kedua ini, karena di hari pertama kita sudah dengan lancar dan sukses mengadakan panel yang dihadiri oleh Bapak Menteri Bappenas dan membahas mengenai penguatan tata kelola kelautan berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan dalam Rencana Pembangunan Nasional. Baiklah, sebelum memulai acara pada hari ini, izinkan saya untuk menyapa beberapa panelis kita pada hari ini dan pembicara. Yang pertama kepada Interim Director for Marine and Fisheries of Bappenas, Ibu Sriyanti, Counselor for Climate and Forest of the Norwegian Embassy in Indonesia, Ms. Gunhild Santos Nederlit, and also for our speakers today, the Norwegian Sherpa for the High-Level Panel for a Sustainable Ocean Economy, Mr. Henrik Harbo, Mexican Sous Sherpa for the High-Level Panel for a Sustainable Economy, Mr. Andrew Rhodes, the Indonesian Ambassador to Germany, and also the Indonesian Sous Sherpa for the Ocean Panel and the co-founder of Indonesia Ocean Justice Initiative, or EOG, Bapak Arif Hafaz Ugroseno, and the Assistant Deputy for Law and Maritime Treaties from the Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs and Investment, Bapak Radian Nurcahyo. Terima kasih banyak Bapak dan Ibu. Thank you very much for attending our webinar today. Dan untuk memulai webinar kita semua pada hari ini, marilah kita bersama-sama menyimak video dari Ibu Sriyanti, PLT Direktur Kelautan dan Perikanan dari Bappenas untuk menyambut kita semua. Silakan panitia. Silakan untuk video Ibu Sriyanti dari Bappenas. Oke, baik. Sambil menunggu, I think it would be better to allow Ms. Gunhild first from the Norwegian Embassy to deliver the opening speech. So, Ms. Gunhild, are you there? Yes. So please, Ms. Gunhild, the Counselor for Climate and Forest of the Norwegian Embassy in Indonesia. Time's yours.
Thank you, Grace. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Selamat siang. My name is Gunhild Santos Nederlit. It is a great pleasure to take part in this seminar on sustainable and equitable ocean governance on behalf of the Norwegian Ambassador, Rutger Brin. Let me first of all express on behalf of Norway my gratitude and appreciation to the National Planning Agency, Bappenas, the Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs and Investment, and to our partners and good friends in Indonesia Ocean Justice Initiative for organizing this seminar. Indonesia and Norway, we are two countries far apart, but we are united by the ocean. For centuries, people in our countries have lived by the sea and of the sea. Ocean-related resources and activities have played a key roles in building our identities, boosting our economies, and reinforcing our relations with the rest of the world, and with each other, I would add. A healthy ocean is essential to human survival. It is vital to solving some of the greatest challenges humanity faces: hunger, poverty, and not least climate change. But the ocean is in danger. Population growth, urbanization, and the concentration of human activity in coastal areas increase pressure on the ocean. Climate change, pollution, marine litter, overfishing, and the destruction of coastal ecosystems are all threats to the ocean. And by doing so, we are putting 2/3 of the planet and our most precious resource at risk. Here in Indonesia, we have a front row view to the effects of climate change, as we have up in the high north in Norway. And the changes are happening fast, and it is not a pleasant sight. We need to come together, like we do in this seminar, to chart a new course towards a healthy and sustainable ocean. These issues are also the heart of the high-level panel for sustainable ocean economy, where President Jokowi and Norway's Prime Minister are both members. For too long, we have believed we had to choose between ocean protection and ocean production, but it is really not about the choice of the one above the other. We can build an ocean economy where effective protection, sustainable production, and equitable prosperity go hand in hand. And we can build an ocean economy that is sustainable, that creates business opportunities, jobs, incomes, and livelihoods for millions of people. This, however, requires a comprehensive approach to sustainable ocean management, covering all ocean areas under national jurisdictions, with ocean planning as a key tool. In Norway, we developed our first comprehensive ocean management plan 20 years ago. And when doing this, we were involving different actors, collecting and preparing knowledge and ocean ecosystems and preparing knowledge on ocean ecosystems and their vulnerabilities. We made plans for coexistence of various ocean economy sectors in different areas. And I understand that Indonesia is now going through a similar process of marine spatial planning, and this is very important. Sound management of the ocean provides predictability and a long-term perspective and helps to avoid conflict between sectors in the future. This should also be an inclusive process where all relevant stakeholders around coastal zones are involved. Dear friends, I will leave it there for my opening remarks. I look very much forward to an open and frank exchange here today. Thank you so much for your attention. Terima kasih banyak.
Sama-sama. Thank you very much, Ms. Gunhild from the Norwegian Embassy. Baik, kita akan kembali ke video taping dari Ibu Sriyanti, PLT Direktur Kelautan dan Perikanan Bappenas. Apakah sudah dapat diputar, Panitia? Baik, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, Ibu Bapak sekalian. Bapak Ibu peserta webinar yang saya hormati. Alhamdulillah, seminar hari ini hari pertama mengenai penguatan tata kelola kelautan berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan dalam Rencana Pembangunan Nasional pada hari Selasa tanggal 8 Agustus 2023 kemarin telah berjalan dengan lancar. Dan hari ini akan dilaksanakan webinar di hari kedua yang fokus pada implementasi ketiga prinsip keberlanjutan dan keberadilan untuk tata kelola kelautan yang kita sebut effective protection, sustainable production, and equitable prosperity, yang tentunya harus dijewantahkan dalam program-program nasional untuk kelautan. Ibu Bapak sekalian, saya mengharapkan Ibu Bapak pada seminar kali ini dapat saling bertukar pikiran dan pengetahuan mengenai strategi terbaik untuk memperkuat tata kelola kelautan Indonesia. Sesuai arahan Bapak Menteri PPN Kepala Bappenas kemarin di hari pertama, ada 3 strategi pembangunan kelautan yang perlu dirumuskan secara tepat, yaitu terkait dengan ekonomi maritim, di mana pembangunan kemaritiman yang bertujuan untuk meningkatkan peranan ekonomi maritim menjadi 15%, itu yang difokuskan kepada konektivitas laut yang efektif, industrialisasi perikanan yang berkelanjutan, dan berdaya saing, dan pariwisata bahari yang inklusif. Yang kedua, peradaban maritim, yaitu membangun kemaritiman yang menciptakan kualitas SDM maritim yang unggul, inovatif, memiliki budaya maritim yang kuat sebagai basis peradaban bahari. Yang ketiga, kekuatan maritim, membangun kekuatan maritim untuk mewujudkan kemampuan pertahanan keamanan maritim yang kuat dan handal dalam menghadapi tantangan regional dan global. Ketiga strategi pembangunan tersebut dapat dirumuskan dengan mempelajari pengalaman dari negara-negara sahabat dan juga pengalaman Indonesia dalam menyusun berbagai kebijakan pembangunan kemaritiman dan kelautan. Akhir kata, saya mengucapkan selamat mengikuti seminar penguatan tata kelola kelautan berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan dalam Rencana Pembangunan Nasional. Saya berharap kesempatan ini dapat menjadi momentum penguatan aspek-aspek keberlanjutan dan berkeadilan untuk mengelola kelautan yang tertuang di dalam dokumen perencanaan pembangunan nasional untuk mewujudkan Indonesia menjadi negara Nusantara berdaulat, maju, dan berkelanjutan di tahun 2045. Bila taufik wal hidayah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Ibu Sriyanti dari Bappenas telah menyambut kita semua pada hari ini di webinar hari kedua mengenai tata kelola kelautan yang berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan. Baik, langsung saja kita akan memulai panel kita pada hari ini, tapi sebelumnya saya akan menyampaikan beberapa pengantar mengenai apa saja yang akan kita diskusikan di panel hari ini. Baik, Bapak Ibu sekalian, Indonesia pada tahun 2018 bergabung ke dalam suatu inisiatif internasional yaitu the High Level Panel for a Sustainable Ocean Economy. Sustainable Ocean Economy ini merupakan suatu paradigma pemanfaatan sumber daya kelautan untuk meningkatkan pembangunan ekonomi yang memperhatikan aspek-aspek keberlanjutan atau sustainability dan aspek equity atau keadilan dan juga aspek effective protection atau kedaulatan. Paradigma ini merupakan suatu solusi untuk mewujudkan keseimbangan antara perlindungan ekosistem laut, pembangunan ekonomi kelautan, dan kesejahteraan masyarakat, terutama masyarakat yang berada di pesisir dan juga nelayan kecil. Paradigma ini diusung oleh the High Level Panel for a Sustainable Ocean Economy yang saat ini sudah didukung oleh 17 kepala negara dan pemerintahan termasuk Indonesia. Dan pada tanggal 3 Desember 2020 yang lalu, negara-negara yang tergabung di dalam The Ocean Panel ini secara bersama-sama meluncurkan sebuah agenda pembangunan ekonomi kelautan yang berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan melalui dokumen transformasi untuk ekonomi laut, visi untuk perlindungan, produktivitas, dan kesejahteraan. Dan di dalam dokumen transformasi ini, Indonesia telah berkomitmen bersama 16 negara lainnya untuk menjalankan transformasi yang tegas dan lugas menuju ekonomi laut yang berkelanjutan, di mana perlindungan dan konservasi lingkungan serta produksi ekonomi dan kesejahteraan rakyat itu dapat berjalan secara beriringan. Komitmen ini kemudian dituangkan dalam Rencana Kelautan Berkelanjutan Nasional atau the National Sustainable Ocean Plan. Dan di tengah-tengah kita hari ini sudah hadir beberapa Sherpa, termasuk diantaranya juga Su-Sherpa untuk Indonesia, Bapak Dubes Arif Hafaz Ugreseno yang nanti akan bergabung bersama kita. Tapi Saya akan pertama-tama mempersilakan Mr. Hendrik Harbo for you to deliver the context of high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy and how is Norwegian leading in this ocean panel. So please, Hendrik, time's yours.
Okay, terima kasih, Grace. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much for inviting me to this very important seminar. As you have said, I am Sherpa for the Norwegian Prime Minister on this high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy, where both the Prime Minister of Norway and the President of Indonesia are members. I am then the Norwegian Prime Minister Sherpa and following the high-level panel on a day-to-day basis. And working also with my good colleague Pa Havas, who will also speak later on this seminar. So very, very pleased to be here. I've been asked to talk about the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy. So I will share with you what the panel is, why it was established, the core objectives and values of the panel, and also how the panel works for a sustainable ocean economy. And I think that can be also helpful for Indonesia. Indonesia is a very important member, but I think also there's a lot of help you can draw from the panel in your very important work. But before I start my presentation, I would like to congratulate Indonesia with this initiative and with this seminar. As several and my colleague from the embassy have said, sustainable ocean and blue economy is crucial for Indonesia as it is for Norway and for many other all coastal countries and for the world actually. It's crucial for wealth and employment and there are very figures showing how important this is for both our countries. And also in addition to the economic wealth and employment and benefits, the ocean also provides high-value ecosystem services. It's extremely important part of the climate challenges, for instance. So we must ensure that these services continue, that the ocean continues to provide economic income, but also these ecosystem services, and that the equity issues are taken into consideration also. So we must manage the ocean sustainably and in an equitable manner. And this must be central to all ocean countries. And that's why I was very happy to see that in your work with the National Development Plan, you have a strong focus on the ocean economy. So let me share with you something more details about the panel. Can you see this?
Yes, we can see that.
Great. So why was this panel established? So as others have said already, we need the ocean, but the ocean is in serious trouble. We have now almost daily seen that the new record temperatures in the global ocean, and this is bad in many respects. It reduces the ocean's ability to in the climate circus, the ocean's role in the climate situation, and also for fisheries is bad, just to give two examples. So we need to stop the decline in the ocean, we need to restore it and protect it. But we need also to continue producing sustainably and share the prosperity. Both our countries are very dependent on the ocean, so we need to protect and restore so that we can still benefit from the ocean. And then the answer to that is sustainable ocean economy and management. But in order to do that, we need good policy recommendations that are based on science and based on knowledge. And also we must find ways to stimulate collective action nationally and internationally. So we share the ocean, and for that reason, individual countries cannot solve this on their own. International cooperation is essential. And we also know that important decisions are made in different UN processes, but they are sometimes a bit slow. And we need those countries who are most committed to work together. And that's why Norway took the initiative to create this panel. At the origin, 14 countries committed to sustainable ocean management, and then 3 others have joined, so we are now 17 countries altogether. And all these share the ambition of a sustainable ocean. What is a bit particular with this panel is that it's sitting leaders, so it's heads of state and government sitting together. That means that they are in political positions, so they can actually change things, not only agree around the table, but actually implement sensible policies. And we also try to have a balanced global composition, so that we have different countries from all continents in the world. The panel has developed a holistic action agenda, I will come back to that, which balances protection and use. And the headline commitment is that we need to manage sustainably 100% of the ocean. We all know that a very important decision was made in Montreal last year on protecting a global target to protect 30% of nature, which is good. But we think it's really important to focus on the 100%, so that we manage the 100% of the ocean sustainably. Within that, some areas need special protection, but we need to do both. And the Ocean Panel is a great source of knowledge and information. So on the website oceanpanel.org, you can find a lot of valuable information. So the panel is today composed of these 17 state leaders. You see the Indonesian president there, and you see the Prime Minister of Norway. And as you can also see, this is a nice composition of countries from covering the whole globe. Of course, there is difficult to put together groups like that, because there are different interpretations of what the balance is. But all continents are here represented. We have small island states. We have big states like the US. We have countries from the global north, global south. And all these countries together actually represent 44% of the exclusive economic zones in the world, and around 50% of the world's coastline. So that means that you can say that we represent almost around half of the ocean which is under national jurisdiction. And that means that what these countries agree can really make a difference for the ocean, and that's why this is a very important group. So these 17 world leaders have come together to create a sustainable ocean economy, where effective protection, sustainable production, and equitable prosperity go hand in hand, creating a triple win for people, nature, and economy. So we need to continue, we need to protect effectively, so that we don't reduce the quality of the ocean. We need to produce sustainably, and we need to share what comes out of the ocean in an equitable manner. And just a reminder how important the ocean is to us. More than 3 billion people rely on food from the ocean. The ocean also plays a crucial role with respect to climate, and it stabilizes the climate actually. Around 25% of CO2 emissions from human activities are absorbed by the ocean, and the ocean also absorbs 93% of the heat caused by human global activity. And these two important services rendered to us by the ocean is reduced when the ocean temperature rises. So what we see with these record temperatures in the ocean now is seriously reducing these climate services that the ocean provide. And also, as we know, and Indonesia and Norway are good examples, the ocean contributes a lot to our economies and to the global economy, with estimates of $1.5 trillion. That's a very difficult figure to relate to, but also millions of jobs. So this is a source of life. But then unfortunately, we see that the health of the ocean is off track. And that represents a huge cost to the global economy. Overfishing is a great problem, and you are faced with that, and you are also dealt quite effectively with that. And that's extremely important. We need international agreements to do this, but also we need individual countries like Indonesia to be tough on overfishing. And also the flow of plastics, that is a serious problem. Again, you can see that in your waters. And if we don't do anything, the flow of plastic can triple by 2040. Luckily, there are international negotiations now underway on a global plastics treaty, and that is absolutely necessary. And also the biodiversity loss is huge, and that's why the Montreal Agreement is extremely important, and we need to reverse this loss of biodiversity. And then acidification is also a serious problem. So we need to do something about this. And what the Ocean Panel has then put on the table is awareness of the state of the ocean. We need to stop the decline, but also the great potential. And actually, it is estimated that we can produce 6 times more sustainable food by 2050 from the ocean. We know that food production is a huge challenge globally. We have huge food security problems in many countries, in particular the poorest, of course, and also that agriculture is causing a lot of environmental problems and climate problems. But in the ocean, there's a great potential for producing more food in a sustainable manner. There's also great potential for creating more jobs, and there's a lot of investment potential. Renewable energy, offshore wind. I know that there are interesting wave projects also in Indonesia, for instance, and there's a great potential there, and we can produce 40 times more renewable energy by 2050. And also estimates show that in order to what the greenhouse gas emissions reductions we need to keep the world within the 1.5 degree target, 21% of those emission reductions can come from the ocean. This is a mix of offshore wind, for instance, that's a very important, greener shipping, and other measures in the water, but altogether that can represent more than 20% of the emission cuts the world needs. So what has the panel actually been doing concretely? Based on knowledge and science, with more than 20 peer-reviewed research papers, the panel has studied all these different important aspects and issues, challenges related to the ocean, and based on that, come up with policy recommendations. So going from knowledge to policy is, of course, extremely important. And then action, which is now the main focus of the panel. How to turn, based on knowledge, good policy advice, how can we turn this into action? And we know that that is challenging, but there's no other way to do this. So we have produced what we call blue papers. You can find all this on our website, a lot of interesting material and some special reports. And based on that, we have produced this blue document we can see down to the right. I think Grace referred to that, the transformations document, which summarizes the policy advice and the Ocean Panel's action agenda. So that's extremely valuable. We, the panel members, we use it, and we must also make this known to other countries so that they can make good use of this good advice. And then the panel members are committed to sustainably manage 100% of the ocean area under national jurisdiction. That's the sort of the headline commitment by the panel. And to do this, guided by what we call sustainable ocean plans. I will come back to that, and that's very much related to the plan that you're working on, and marine spatial planning was mentioned also. But we cover a large part of the ocean, but in order to seriously save the ocean, we need all coastal countries and ocean states to join us in this. So our ambition is that in addition to all the panel members doing this by 2025, we hope that all countries can do this by 2030. and we will use all international arenas like the United Nations Ocean Conference, for instance, to encourage other countries to do the same. And if we all do that, we will get a much better management of the global ocean, and an outcome of this will be that we ensure the long-term health and resilience of the ocean. I will not go into this in detail, but we have 5 pillars in our strategy for a sustainable ocean economy, and this can be very helpful and a good way of structuring also Indonesia's plan, where to create ocean wealth, how to increase ocean wealth and income from the ocean in a sustainable manner. But keeping in mind that we cannot have healthy people and planet without a healthy ocean, and we cannot undermine the economic potential of the ocean by misusing it. And also equity has been mentioned several times by Grace, very important, because we need to take care of the rights and needs of all people, but also to distribute the ocean wealth in an equitable manner. In order to do this, we need to continue to develop our knowledge about the ocean. The research needs to continue. And then, of course, we need financial resources so that we can put this into action. As I've said several times, the 17 Ocean Panel members, we share the aim to sustainably manage 100% of the ocean area under national jurisdiction, and also that we represent almost half of the world's exclusive economic zone. So this can make a significant difference. I will not spend long time on the definitions here, but I think we around this table, we know that with sustainable ocean economy, we mean that we can use the resources for economic growth, but in a way which does not undermine the qualities of the ocean. And we need, in order to achieve this, we need sustainable ocean management. This is an approach to managing ecosystems and resources as a whole, promoting an equitable system of conservation and sustainable use. And we put this into a plan. You are now working on a national development plan. We need to capture things and describe it in plans. And a sustainable ocean plan is a goal-driven plan that provides for the long-term health of ocean ecosystems as an underpinning for thriving economies and societies. Finally, in order to help countries in this process, the Ocean Panel has developed a guide for how to do this, how to do 100% sustainable management in practice, and how to work towards sustainable ocean plans. Because the ocean is big, it's a complex of a lot of different problems, and we need a holistic plan to take all these issues into the consideration. And we need to manage 100% of the ocean sustainably. And for that, we need sustainable ocean planning. So this plan, this document, guide, plus a sharing of good practice and examples, and I think we'll hear from Andrew from Mexico very soon. Mexico has come very far in their sustainable ocean planning, and this is also something we do within the panel. We share practical experience between countries. That's a very powerful way of learning. And we are committed to develop our plans before 2025 and encourage all countries to do that by 2030. And just a reminder, I think, of course, plan and documents are very important, but the process is maybe more important than the plan. So the fact that you, on the Indonesian side, are involving all relevant ministries and agencies in your process is extremely important. And the process and the fact of having all the right agencies around the table is very important in itself, and that everybody is engaged. So in closing, this gives you an overview of what the panel is, and it's a great resource base for all member countries. And Indonesia is doing the right thing, making a sustainable ocean economy a key part of your national development plan And that's exactly what the high-level panel recommends that countries should do. And then, as I've said several times, the high-level panel also has a lot to contribute to this work. So you should use it, use us, use the Sherpa group, and also the website with all the relevant information. So with that, I wish you good luck, and terima kasih. Great to be part of this seminar. Over to you, Grace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henrik Harbo, the Norwegian Sherpa of the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy. If I may ask, could you please exit the share screen so we can see everybody here? Thank you, Henrik. Can you stop the screen sharing?
Yes.
Great, great.
Okay.
Thank you
Good.
very much. So, Henrik, just to recap on what you've just said to all of us here, it's very interesting that you focus on how to manage 100% of the ocean area sustainably, because that's the very focus of the high-level panel or the ocean panel. And it's really incredible to realize that actually the ocean panel represent half of the whole world's coastline, and also 44%, almost half of the entire exclusive economic zone globally. And also how you state the fact or the probability, if we keep a healthy ocean in a sustainable ocean economy manner, then there will be more sustainable food 6 times, and also 12 million more jobs, also 40 times more renewable energy. And also I would like to highlight what the ocean panel do for its member countries. There are 3 areas. The first, knowledge and science; the second, policy; and the third is the action. And also let me go back later on question and answer. If any of you here, the participants, would like to ask on the process of making a sustainable ocean plan, where Henrik highlights that the process is more important than the plan itself, and also how we can put everybody and everything in one room and also discuss about the sustainable ocean economy. Because in fact, our country has this blue economy roadmap already published by Bappenas, and also we have the Indonesian ocean policy that later will be explained by Pak Radian. And also we have the National Blue Action Agenda Partnership and all of our initiatives. And those initiatives can later be explained by our Ambassador Hafaz. Baiklah Bapak Ibu, saya akan kembali mengundang Pak Radian Nur Cahyo, Asisten Deputi Bidang Hukum dan Perjanjian Maritim di Kementerian Koordinator Kemaritiman dan Investasi. Kepada Pak Radian, saya persilakan. Silakan Pak.
Thank you very much, Ibu Grace, Her Excellency Ambassador Ruth Kruger Kivrin, the Embassy of Norway, and Henrik Herbo, Norwegian Sherpa, for the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy, and Eduardo Yaramilo, Mexican Sherpa, and Dr. Arif Hafaz Agroseno, Bapak kami, Duta Besar Indonesia untuk Jerman. Izin kami menyampaikan dengan bahasa Indonesia karena kami melihat pesertanya sebagian besar adalah dengan bahasa Indonesia, dan juga bahan yang disiapkan oleh tim kami juga dengan bahasa Indonesia. Slide yang kita lihat, kami diminta untuk berbicara mengenai konsepsi pembangunan kemaritiman dalam konstruksi kebijakan kelautan Indonesia. Ini merupakan narasi besar visi poros maritim dunia. Next slide, please. Bukan hanya sekedar klaim, namun sebagai sebuah negara, Indonesia bisa dikatakan sebagai negara maritim terbesar dengan sejarah masa lalu dan panjang. Seringkali kita dengar bahwa pada zaman dahulu di tanah ini pernah memiliki sejarah armada tempur maritim yang sangat hebat, yang dipimpin oleh seorang wanita, yakni Ratu Kalinyamat. Kemudian pada zaman dinasti Sailendra pun telah menggambarkan kisah kehidupan pesisir di daratan Nusantara seperti tercantum dalam Jatavaka Avadana Panel 86 pada Candi Borobudur yang menggambarkan relief kapal mengarungi samudra telah dilengkapi layar dan cadik dengan banyak ikan di bawahnya. Pada relief tersebut juga menggambarkan kehidupan pesisir yang berpusat pada sekitaran ekosistem tanaman bakau. Sejarah panjang Nusantara pernah diikrarkan oleh Mahapate Gajah Mada dalam Sumpah Amukti Palapa sebagai sejarah cikal bakal terbentuknya negara yang terdiri dari berbagai kerajaan dan kepulauan yang saat ini adalah Indonesia. Next slide. Dalam sejarah modern, milestone atau tonggak pembangunan kemaritiman dari negara yang bercirikan kepulauan, yakni Indonesia, telah dimulai sebelum zaman kemerdekaan ketika para pemuda berkumpul pada 28 Oktober 1928 dengan mengikrarkan Sumpah Pemuda. Milestone kedua setelah masa kemerdekaan, Perdana Menteri Juanda pada 13 Desember 1957 mendeklarasikan kepada dunia bahwa Laut Indonesia adalah termasuk laut sekitar. Di antara dan di dalam kepulauan Indonesia menjadi satu kesatuan wilayah NKRI. Sebuah deklarasi yang menjadi landasan bagi prinsip negara kepulauan Archipelagic States. Milestone ketiga pada 23 September 1963 pada Musyawarah Nasional Maritim yang pertama, Presiden Soekarno menyatakan tekadnya untuk menjadikan Indonesia berjaya sebagai negara maritim, yang kemudian ditetapkan sebagai Hari Maritim melalui surat keputusan Presiden setahun setelahnya. Milestone keempat ketika Profesor Mokhtar Kusuma-Atmaja yang ketika muda telah ikut terlibat dan merumuskan deklarasi Juanda, kemudian menyusun dan mengenalkan ide dan prinsip negara kepulauan secara mendetail pada era tahun 70-an, yang kemudian diperjuangkan pada tahun-tahun kemudian, termasuk dalam Konvensi Hukum Laut Internasional 1982. Milestone kelima, diterimanya ide dan prinsip negara kepulauan di dalam bab tersendiri yang terdiri dalam beberapa artikel di dalam UNCLOS 1982 yang kemudian diratifikasi dan disahkan pemerintah melalui Undang-Undang Nomor 17 tahun 1985. Secara resmi Indonesia diakui sebagai negara kepulauan dengan segala hak yang diperoleh berdasarkan UNCLOS 1982. Slide yang ketiga. Jika berbicara mengenai letak geografis, sebagaimana kita ketahui bersama bahwa Indonesia merupakan sebuah negara besar, terdiri dari belasan ribu pulau yang berada dalam persilangan antara dua samudra, yakni Samudra Pasifik dan Samudra Hindia. Secara otomatis, hal tersebut menjadikan Indonesia sebuah pusat perlintasan maritim dunia. Hal tersebut bukanlah sesuatu yang kita inginkan, namun merupakan sebuah anugerah Tuhan Yang Maha Esa yang perlu kita syukuri sekaligus menjadikan sebuah tantangan dalam pengelolaannya. Next slide, please. Milestone terakhir ketika Presiden Joko Widodo berpidato pada kemenangannya dalam pemilu 2014 dengan mengemukakan ide visi poros maritim dunia yang kemudian ditegaskan kembali pada pidato pelantikan Presiden pada 20 Oktober 2014. Kemudian visi poros maritim dunia selanjutnya dijadikan landasan dalam penyusunan dokumen kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia. Next slide. Dibentuknya Kementerian Koordinator Bidang Kemaritiman pada pemerintahan periode pertama Jokowi JK melalui Perpres nomor 10 tahun 2015 merupakan langkah Presiden untuk mewujudkan cita-cita Indonesia sebagai negara maritim melalui ide poros maritim dunia. Sebagai informasi bahwa Kementerian Maritim sebenarnya bukan untuk pertama kali dibentuk. Pada tahun 1966 telah ada Menko Kompartemen Kemaritiman yaitu Bapak Ali Sadikin. Pada tahun 1967 Menteri Maritim Bapak Jajan Sastrorejo. Menko Bidang Kemaritiman pertama pada era Presiden Jokowi diemban oleh Profesor Indroyono Susilo, kemudian dilanjutkan oleh Dr. Rizal Ramli, dan saat ini diemban oleh Jenderal Purnawirawan Luhut Binsar Panjaitan. Slide. Penyusunan dokumen kebijakan kelautan Indonesia merupakan sebuah ide besar dalam pengelolaan negara kemaritiman dengan beberapa hal yang melatar belakangi, yaitu Indonesia merupakan negara maritim terbesar di dunia dengan luas perairan mencapai 6,4 juta kilometer persegi dengan 17.504 pulau yang membentang di seluruh Nusantara. Sumber daya laut yang melimpah, pembangunan ekonomi melalui prinsip ekonomi biru, adanya demografi pesisir yang luar biasa besar, terdiri dari berbagai budaya, berbeda di pelosok negeri, sekaligus sebagai pengejawantahan arahan Presiden terkait visi poros maritim dunia, terkait pembangunan negara kemaritiman. Maka hal-hal tersebut perlu dikelola dengan baik dan membutuhkan sebuah acuan yang tepat dalam rangka pengelolaan potensi besar tersebut, yang manfaatnya harus diterima dan dirasakan oleh masyarakat Indonesia maupun dunia. Next slide. Setelah dibentuknya Menko Bidang Kemaritiman pada 2015, Presiden Jokowi kemudian memberikan arahan dan tanggung jawab kepada Menko Kemaritiman dan Investasi untuk menyusun narasi poros maritim dunia, yang kemudian dalam prosesnya ditetapkan melalui Peraturan Presiden Nomor 16 Tahun 2017 tentang Kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia, yang dilengkapi pula dengan lampiran rencana aksi yang pertama. Next slide. Kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia dibangun dengan 6 prinsip. Pertama adalah wawasan Nusantara, pembangunan berkelanjutan atau sering dikenal dengan SDGs, blue economy, pengelolaan terintegrasi dan transparan, partisipasi, kesetaraan, serta pemerataan ke seluruh penjuru negeri. Dan memiliki 7 pilar pembangunan poros maritim dunia. Pertama adalah pengelolaan sumber daya kelautan dan pengembangan sumber daya manusia. Pertahanan, keamanan, penegakan hukum, dan keselamatan di laut, tata kelola dan kelembagaan laut, ekonomi, infrastruktur, dan peningkatan kesejahteraan, pengelolaan ruang laut dan perlindungan lingkungan laut, serta budaya bahari dan diplomasi maritim. Next slide. Kemudian untuk kita ketahui bersama bahwa kebijakan kelautan Indonesia dan implementasi rencana aksi akan menyediakan baseline pengukuran untuk pembangunan kemaritiman. Selanjutnya menuju poros maritim dunia Indonesia Emas 2045, yang kemudian akan dijadikan sebagai konsepsi rencana jangka panjang yang saat ini pada saat penyusunan proses ini, dan harapannya juga akan mendapatkan berbagai masukan dari kementerian lembaga terkait. Kemudian selanjutnya, pada slide berikutnya, pada Perpres nomor 34 tahun 2022, yaitu Rencana Aksi Kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia, tahap kedua 2021-2025, menyediakan 10 indikator kinerja utama sebagai sarana penghitungan outcome atau dampak langsung yang dirasakan masyarakat yang akan diakses secara agregasi pada akhir periode rencana aksi KKI kedua ini, yang terdiri dari 10 IKU yang melekat pada pilar-pilar KKI, yaitu Indeks Inovasi, Indeks Ketahanan Energi, Indeks Kedaulatan Maritim, Indeks Pembangunan Hukum, PDB Maritim, Logistik Performance Index, Nilai Tukar Nelayan, Indeks Kesehatan Laut Indonesia, Indeks Literasi Maritim, dan Indeks Kepemimpinan Maritim. Slide berikutnya. Beberapa contoh highlight pelaksanaan implementasi kebijakan kelautan Indonesia 2016-2019, yaitu melalui pembangunan konektivitas antar wilayah dan pertahanan maritim dari beberapa pilar pada KKI tahap pertama dalam menunjang keamanan dan kinerja logistik ke seluruh wilayah Indonesia dengan asas pemerataan. Pembangunan infrastruktur tol laut dalam mendukung pemerataan, pembangunan pelabuhan, bandara, dan jalan tol untuk menghubungkan konektivitas antar wilayah Indonesia hingga ke pulau-pulau terluar, penguatan pertahanan laut Natuna, dan penguatan armada keamanan laut. Slide berikutnya. Headline diplomasi maritim Indonesia pada kebijakan kelautan Indonesia tahap pertama dalam mendorong kepemimpinan Indonesia di level internasional, mendorong terbentuknya organisasi internasional Archipelago and Island State Forum, dan melaksanakan bilateral maritim forum dengan banyak negara di dunia dengan Plan of Action G2G maupun B2B. Demikian paparan dari kami, semoga bermanfaat. Waktu dan tempat kami kembalikan, Ibu Kris.
Baik, Terima kasih banyak Pak Asdep Radian Nur Cahyo atas paparannya. Saya izin untuk menyimpulkan tadi dari paparannya Pak Radian bahwa memang negara kita ini adalah negara kepulauan terbesar dan merupakan negara maritim yang mempunyai cita-cita menjadi poros maritim dunia. Dan tadi sudah dijelaskan sejarah kemaritiman Indonesia dan juga masuk kepada kebijakan kelautan Indonesia sebagai pengejauhan dari cita-cita poros maritim dunia tersebut. Dan memang di dalam kebijakan kelautan Indonesia ini yang diundangkan melalui peraturan presiden di tahun 2017, lalu di update ya, di amandemen di tahun 2022, terdapat prinsip-prinsip pembangunan kemaritiman dan juga 7 pilar poros maritim dunia yang kemudian tadi outcome-nya diukur dari 10 indikator kerja utama dari ketujuh pilar tersebut. Dan menarik bahwa sebenarnya Perpres KKI ini atau kebijakan kelautan Indonesia sudah mempunyai redaksi untuk setiap kementerian dan lembaga di Indonesia. Akan sangat baik kemarin di hari pertama kita sudah mendengarkan mengenai penjelasan Blue Economy Roadmap yang dikeluarkan oleh Bappenas, lalu dilanjutkan keterangan dari Kemenko Marves Pak Deputi Firman mengenai National Blue Action Agenda Partnership yang terdiri dari 4 task force, yang mana ini juga bisa menambah komitmen implementasi dari tata kelola kelautan yang berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan. Baik, terima kasih Pak Radian. Bersama-sama dengan kita saat ini sudah bergabung Pak Dubes, Bapak Duta Besar Arif Hafaz Ugroseno, Duta Besar Indonesia untuk Jerman. Hello, good morning, I think. Good morning, Excellency. How are you? Really nice to see you. Masih di mute, Bapak? Bisa di-unmute?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Terima kasih.
So please, Your Excellency, untuk paparannya mengenai gaps and opportunities dan bagaimana Indonesia menjalankan the sustainable ocean economy. Saya persilakan Bapak Arif Hafaz Ugroseno, Duta Besar Indonesia untuk Jerman, Indonesian Sous Sherpa for the High Level Panel for Sustainable Ocean Economy, dan juga boleh ya Pak, salah satu co-founder Indonesia Ocean Justice Initiative or EOG. Silakan. Thank
you, Grace. Good morning, afternoon, colleague across the world, I think, and also morning to Pak Hendrik. Apa kabar, Pak Hendrik? Also, Gunhil Santos, how are you? And Grace and colleague from IOG. I have a very short presentations. Hang on a second.
Do you want us to ini Pak untuk menampilkan bisa juga?
Okay, I want to drive myself.
Okay, silakan Pak.
Yeah. Voila. So, I'm going to discuss in general about sustainable ocean economy in Indonesia. What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? How we are going to pursue that, what are at the issue at the policy level, what are the issue at the practical level, so that we can get a big picture on the issue of sustainable economy, especially the ocean economy. This is just a background, you know. We of course our ocean issue is based on the existing international law, most importantly the Convention Law of the Sea, and of course the various implementing regulations at the law level, at the government regulation level, even at the Director General's level. So we have a range of legal frameworks in Indonesia as a basis for our governance of the oceans. But as the previous speakers mentioned, the much more focused and structured approach on developing our ocean economy or our maritime space is basically came out when we established the Indonesian Ocean Policy. It was I was involved in the establishment of this ocean policy. It took us about 1 year or so, and we brought in many different players at the local level, NGOs, local governments, as well as at the level of different ministries. But also importantly, when we drafted the ocean policy, I just returned from Brussels. My assignment previously as ambassador in EU and European Union, I think 2010, 11, they established this new European maritime strategy. And also the US has a maritime strategy, Japan as well, Australia, even before that, Norway as well. So we're basically getting experience from all those different countries who have issued an ocean policy. So based on the experience of other countries, based on our own interests, so we finally created a framework of a structured approach on how we manage our ocean. And that is basically the Indonesian Ocean Policy. It is the first time. It is the first country, actually the first time for Indonesia, and it's the only country in Southeast Asia until today. And in East Asia, I believe you have Indonesia, I think Japan and China. The rest, I'm not so sure. For sure, the ASEAN, we are the only one. And it is continued, of course, with the plan of action, very detailed one. And recently, I think this year, we launched the Blue Economy Roadmap. I think it was explained yesterday. I can also share you the Indonesian Economy Roadmap, and I think I shared already with my colleague in the high-level panel on the ocean matters. So these are the regulatory framework, policy framework on how we are addressing the ocean economy. There is one aspect that I don't put here in my presentation, which was the calculations of Indonesian economy, Indonesian maritime economy. We had a lot of debate on defining what is and what is not maritime economy. We had a lot of exchange of views on what it is and what is not maritime economy. And we finally give the matter to an arbiter, which is the National Statistic Agency. So, you know, the National Statistic Agency just came out from the SDG. So they have this global experience, so that we asked them for them to decide what are the elements of Indonesian ocean economy. So that's number one. They decide that. They decide on the basis of our existing legal framework. And secondly, they've done a calculations. How much percentage of the ocean economy in our GDP? They give us the number, how many rupiah, and also they gave us the number, how many jobs that are created. So there are 9 elements. I don't remember all of them, but a 9 element that includes fisheries, navigations, ports, coastal tourism, extraction of oil and gas at sea, R&D, defense, and I don't remember the other services of ocean or something like that. But we had there 9 elements, okay? And based on the numbers, our statistic agency look at our ocean economy. It was 6.4% of our GDP. This number was 2017, I think, when I was still in Jakarta. and it gave about 3.4 million jobs, mostly, of course, fisheries, and mostly, of course, the inter-island shippings. So we've done that with National Statistics Agency, and that is why that result was taken into the Blue Economic Roadmap. So now we basically know what are the blue economy, what are the elements of blue economy of Indonesia. Of course, every country have different definitions, and now we know how to do it, and now we know what are the problems. So I'll come to the. This is the documents. I think it's available in the internet. This is basically the storyline inside it that says that our ocean economy, according to World Bank, is such and such value. It grows very fast, and we are now at 6.7%, which is actually did not move that much from the number of 2017. 2017 it was 6.3 or 4, and we plan to reach 12.45 our GDP 2045. I'll give you another number. Our industry is now 18% of our GDP. So if you look at the status of Indonesia as the largest maritime countries, largest archipelagic countries in the world, having the ocean GDP is only below 10%, even below 15% under 2045 is still very small. Now, then the question is, how much money do we need to invest? It's all about money at the end of the day. It's all about financing. Okay, we can talk about all these ideals, but at the end of the day, it's about how much money is needed for mitigation, adaptation of climate change, for instance. It's about financing. Same with us here. So, how much money do we need to invest to get to that number? To get to 12% of our GDP? To get to maximize that $280 billion that the World Bank has mentioned. So this is basically the target and the challenges. Hang on a second. Now, there are, of course, so many activities related to achieving those numbers. Okay. But those numbers cannot be achieved if we have not a very good environment. Okay, if we have a very bad environment, if our environment services are not being taken care of. And when we are talking about environment at sea, then these are some of the examples. Mangrove restoration, for instance, MPAs, and then the issue of plastic debris. These are the three big issues that we face today. And when we talk about mangrove, of course, we want to restore over 600,000 hectares. And to restore that, we need money. Okay. We need to target 600,000 hectares in 2024, next year. There are several ways that we are doing it. We are working with the Germans, as I'm posted here. So we established the World Mangrove Center 2022, which it was inaugurated by the president in Kalimantan. And it was showcased to the G20 leaders. Okay. Now, UAE is also interested in working with us. UAE is offering some funding in terms of R&D, and I think one center in China, so the same thing. And I think we also discussed this with the high level panel. So we hope that we can organize something together at the global level with the high level panel specifically for mangrove. MPAs, for instance, we have designated that, but I want to be frank with everybody. We should not hide anything. I would say that these 28 million hectares of MPA are still largely paper MPA, because we need to actually man the MPA. So I'll give you an example of how much people do we need. In one small area, I think in West Sumatra, in the Indian Oceans, near Padang, one MPA requires 80 people. Then the question is, do we really need 80 people, or do we really need technology that can cover 80 people? That again, financing, right? So I think in some MPAs, they are already functioning, but we even Indonesia, we have a rating of our MPA 1 to 4. 4 is fully functioning, 1 is paper. I think most of our MPAs are still 1 or 2, but some are already 3. I think 1 or 2 are the level of 4, very rare. But we have already done it, as an initial stage. And of course, the marine plastic challenge debris. There are a number of inland activities that we are doing it, and we are working with different countries. I think we're working with Norway, Denmark, the World Bank. I don't remember other countries, Japan probably. But I remember I was working with Denmark and Norway when I was still in Jakarta, and also with the World Bank on this marine plastic debris. So these are one of the 3 of the examples. So financing. So we established what they call the Indonesian Environment Fund in 2019, and this IEF is a new setup. So basically, when a country wants to organize climate change related activities, they come from the state budget, right? And grants and loan, they go through the Ministry of Finance. And very rarely country get funding from the market. And if they do have funding from the market, then the complexity at the internal level is very high, where the money will go. And that is why Indonesia established what's called the Indonesian Environment Fund, IEF. So it's a setup under the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Environment, independent setup, monitored by the Minister of Finance. They are professionally managed. They get funding from the bond that we are selling. Recently, we issue a samurai bond in Japan, blue bond, $776 million. We launched a green bond in Frankfurt. I think 2 years ago, we got $1.2 billion. And we launched Green Sukuk as well, around $2 billion. All this funding goes to this Indonesian Environment Fund. All the grants, all the loans on environment goes to this agency. So now we have a sort of fund that can finance different activity related to climate change. And of course, it's not enough. I'll give you an example relation to plastics and normalization of river. The one in below. So Citarum, Ciliwung, Tuntang, Serang, these are projects that we are doing with the World Bank in different countries. But Bengawan Solo, the last one, that is Central Java, we are doing it with Germany. We had a green infrastructure initiative, GII, with the German government. We took a loan of somewhere around $2.3 billion for green infrastructure across 5 different provinces, and one of the major project is Bengawan Solo. So this is just an example, how the attempt to clean up the ocean should come from the inland part of it. This is just a continuation of what I'm saying now. How much money, the budgets, the different challenges that we are we are facing. But the issue I think here is, I want to close by this very nice movie coming from Tom Cruise, Show Me the Money. And all these activities in climate change activities, these all financing, whether we like it or not, because, well, unfortunately, we've done damage to our environment already, and to bring it back, it needs really big investment. Now, the question is, how can we bring financing from the market? How can we bring financing from the private institutions? I was told that there are $200 trillion flying around above the sky. They don't want to lend because they lend in a place where the interest is minus, especially these days, and they're looking for green or blue investment, but not very easy. And I think all policy dialogue at the end of the day should try to link us, government officers, civil societies, and also the market. And I think this is the key challenges that we all need to face, whether it is blue economy or green economy, terrestrial, and whatever. When it relates to the environment, at the end of the day, the financing will be very important key elements. So once again, thank you very much for the invitations, and I hope I'll give you a clear roadmap on the policy framework that we have, the idea that we want to implement, the target that we want to achieve, and how we are going to do it, and the biggest challenge, which is financing. So once again, thank you very much. Terima kasih. Vielen Dank.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your excellent presentations. If I may conclude and summarize from your presentations, you informed us about the Indonesian ocean governance and how we have priority elements, the 9 Indonesian maritime economy. You explained on that, and how is the contribution of blue economy is expected. It's about 12.45% of the national GDP. But let me tell you, from day 1 of the seminar, Minister Monoarfa said that 12.45% is too small. 15% should be the minimum target for the maritime economy. So that's why we're discussing it yesterday, because he told us that we have to have a mindset or paradigm based on the ocean, not terrestrial based or land based. So I think that's really important to be discussed. And also you informed us about the 3 big focus on climate change mitigation and adaptation. The first one being degradation of mangrove, the second, plastic debris management, and the third, the designation of marine protected areas, where you stated that it's still a paper MPA, not an implemented MPA, so which is very important. And also you elaborated that financing is one of the most crucial elements, and how can we bring financing from the market? I think that's a very interesting discussion that we should have in this webinar today. So thank you very much, Henrik, Pak Radian, and Pak Hafaz for your presentations. Saya akan membuka sesi tanya jawab, yang mana akan saya buka terlebih dahulu untuk Bapak Siham Afata. Jadi beliau adalah salah seorang konsultan yang memang mengamati juga kebijakan mengenai tata kelola kelautan yang berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan. Nanti setelah Pak Siham menanggapi dan juga mungkin bertanya kepada beberapa narasumber, saya akan membuka sesi pertanyaan yang memang di kolom pertanyaan sudah agak banyak, sudah saya catat. Silakan Bapak Siham, sudah di ruangan.
Selamat siang, terima
Ya.
kasih banyak Ibu Grace.
Ya, silakan Pak.
Selamat siang to all honorable presenters. My name is Sihan. I'm a practitioner on marine resource management in Indonesia. I've been following yesterday's seminar up till this afternoon, and if we reflect from the insight of day one, there's a big challenge of collaboratively manage and reinforce Indonesia ocean knowledge. We're talking about data to practice, and then from scientific knowledge to local wisdom, and related to various disciplines and sectors. And as we heard from Pak Hafaz and Pak Radian, clearly illustrated in his presentation, all of these ocean knowledge taking place simultaneously, involving many stakeholders, and I guess vast amount of data information. Such as for the NBAP initiative itself, there's a need yesterday stated by Pak Firman, if I'm not mistaken, about the need to harness existing and new knowledge to support national and global objective on blue food, health, innovation, and etc. I just want to hear from the honorable panelists. What are your views on having the planners like Bapenas, coordinators like Kemenkomarves, and implementers such as KKP, and also other non-government institutions to collaboratively manage and finance a national platform where all these stakeholders can collaboratively manage the blue knowledge. I, as a practitioner, seeing these, this is one of the gaps at the moment on managing the blue knowledge. And I think the blue knowledge topic is something that hasn't yet quite discussed in the national level, but fortunately, Bapenas, Marves, and IUG have tried to spark that discussion since yesterday. I hope my question is quite clear and the backgrounder for my question. Thank you very much to all honorable presenters. Terima kasih, selamat siang.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Siham. If I may rephrase your question, and also I'd like to also include one of the question here in the question and answer box. So I think the first one can be answered by Pak Hendrik. So Hendrik, the question is about collaborative efforts and how to turn knowledge and also information into policy and action. I think you mentioned those three big activities and what are as the activities that the Ocean Panel do right now. So maybe you can share how the knowledge and science is interpreted into policy recommendations, and then you support member countries to implement those policy recommendations. Please, Hendrik, sebelum nanti saya ke Pak Hafaz dan Pak Radian.
Okay, so thank you very much for that question, a very good observation, and I think this is it's a very complex question because it's really the whole value chain, to use that expression, from knowledge and to implementation, and we know that that's really tricky. I mean, that's all what sort of politics and is about. Is that sort of one thing is to have an analysis of a problem, but there's a long way from that often to the actual implementation. So there's no magic answer to that. What we have done from the panel side is to because we saw when the panel was established that of course there's a lot of knowledge out there, a lot of research papers coming all the time, but we need to sort of bring all this together because there's so many different aspects. So our model, and I think it can be copied at the national level, sort of the knowledge in your ocean, the ocean around Indonesia, and then translate that into policy advice, which is relevant for the Indonesian case. And then, of course, it must be national processes and national institutions that implement that in a country. So when it comes to this implementation part, it's a bit limited what the Ocean Panel can do, because we can discuss this, the two first steps. I mean, collect the global knowledge, come up with policy advice that can be applied, but by definition that will be of a general character, because we are Norway and Indonesia and Palau and the United States in the panel, and of course very different contexts. So this has to then be copied in a sense at the national level. The panel work can inspire, but it really has to be owned and related to the case of Indonesia. But I think this what I heard is kind of to manage the blue knowledge. I think that was a very good expression, and to have some kind of a platform where all stakeholders, because it's very important that the knowledge is shared, that it's not only some researchers there or the Ministry of Finance or another ministry. So, and I think with the structure you have with Bapenas and also working with different stakeholders, find for us, and there I can make a parallel to our ocean management planning process. We have what we call a knowledge forum, where actually all stakeholders, that are researchers, agencies, ministries, everybody who has a stake in ocean knowledge, they meet regularly. And that's a bit separate from, and they should feed into the policy process, but at the same time we keep this as separate, because it's important that we have good discussions on the knowledge, and then based on that define the policy. If we try to do everything at the same time, you will end up with sort of very politicized knowledge discussions, and that can be complicated matters. So a good forum for discussing blue knowledge, I think, is a great idea, and then involve all relevant stakeholders in some ways also in the policy process. So not a very precise answer, because this is complex, it's complicated, and it has to be country specific also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hendrik. So I'd like to go to Pak Hafaz. Pak Hafaz, there are two questions that you already answered in the question and answer box, but I would like to link it to Pak Siham question as well, as how can we do the collaborative efforts. So like you have known, Bapenas has the Blue Economy Roadmap, and then Marves has the National Blue Action Agenda Partnership with its 4 task force collecting all the development partners and also the UN bodies. And also we have this Indonesian ocean policy. So how best could we actually do all of these efforts with also blue financing? Please, Pak Hafaz.
I think if the more the merrier, you know, that's the principles. But we need to have the framework. And we have the framework already, which is the ocean policy. I agree with Pa Hendrik about ocean knowledge, discussion with academia, discussions on at the intellectual level, if you will. But he's also right that this is my experience as well, that once you sit with different experts, defining on, say, what is blue economy or not blue economy, then the discussion could, last 1 week and nobody agrees. Yeah. I'll give you a very interesting example. When I was in the ministry, we were criticized that Indonesia does not have one single reference of numbers, the length of coast, how much island do we have, okay, the width of our territorial waters, the width of our EEZ. They said, all the academics said that, well, the government is not capable enough. The government doesn't know what they're talking about, because we don't even know the length of our coast, for instance. So, okay, we engage, right? And I remember with different universities, they came up with different numbers. And they fought each other about these numbers, okay, with all this different theory. So our approach was, give out your methodology, and we ask someone who knows better, which is the Navy. So we give the methodology and ask the Navy to do the job, okay? And then the Navy, they have their ship, they can go to all these different places. They have satellites, confidence and not confidence. They have all the things on their hand. So they came up with the numbers, and we discussed numbers. And we came up with, of course, this problem of comma and very decimal smalls. So we round them up. So we say, for instance, the length of our coast was 100,000 kilometers length. And when we published the numbers, one university said, "How come it's rounded?" Are you sure it's not comma? Are you sure it's really 100,000 kilometers length? So you see, this has become, Pak Hendrik says politicized. I say I will become funny, because then it become, academic ego. And for us in the government, it's difficult. So that is why it is important to have a framework. And the framework, of course, is something that we have agreed before with a different collaboration, different discussion, and that is the Indonesian Ocean Policy. So I think we should hang on that, because that ocean policy is not coming out of the blue. It comes from the law, Undang-Undang Kelautan, the law on the oceans that has been done a couple of years back. So we have the law, we have the ocean policy, and then at the end of the day, we need someone to do the job, and we need someone to give the money to do the jobs, right? And if you want to have someone to do the job and give the money, there's Bapenas. Like it or not, if you have your project in the green and blue book, you're great. Otherwise, you will not get any financing from the state. So you need to have the ocean planning going on with Bapenas. So it should not be a problem. And different line ministry have different cooperation. It's fine, as long as it's in the context of that framework of ocean policy. So I think that is the most important aspect, because if I discuss with different countries, different colleagues around the world, they are still grappling on what it is blue economy, what is not blue economy, and then we are far ahead of that. So I think, and also my expose or exchanges with colleague at the global level give us also knowledge, on how we do it ourselves, whether we have done okay, not okay. I think at the global level we are doing okay, we're doing fine, because we have this fundamental law, we have the what do you call it, the framework of ocean policy, and the implementation, it comes from a different aspect of it. Yeah.
Baik, thank you very much, Pak Hafaz, for your explanation. And indeed, the Indonesian Ocean Policy atau Kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia is the framework that we can refer to whenever we want to make this collaborative efforts. And as you say, the more the merrier. You just need someone to be the leader of all of this many institutions. Thank you, Pak Hafaz. Baik, sebelum kita beralih ke Pak Radian, saya mau menyampaikan mohon maaf dari Andrew Rhodes, the sous Sherpa for Mexico, bahwa beliau sedang berada di daerah dengan ketersediaan internet yang sangat terbatas. Jadi memang beberapa hari ini beliau agak terkendala koneksi, jadi belum bisa bergabung di webinar hari ini. Baik, saya akan ke Pak Radian. Pak Radian, ada beberapa pertanyaan, Pak, terkait tadi ya yang sudah dijelaskan juga oleh Pak Hafaz bahwa kebijakan kelautan Indonesia atau yang lebih dikenal dengan Perpres KKI itu adalah framework yang bisa menjadi acuan untuk usaha-usaha tata kelola kelautan yang berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan. Nah, di kolom pertanyaan, Pak, ada beberapa pertanyaan, diantaranya adalah bagaimana monitoring dari pelaksanaan renaksi di Perpres KKI itu dilakukan, dan apakah data-data yang didapatkan untuk evaluasi indeks itu, Pak, sudah sudah ada mekanisme verifikasinya. Jadi bagaimana Kemenko Marves melakukan hal ini dan bagaimana renaksi dari setiap KL itu dipantau. Dan mungkin nanti Pak Radian bisa jelaskan juga hubungan dari renaksi-renaksi ini yang terdapat di dalam Perpres KKI dengan apa yang sudah direncanakan oleh Bappenas. Silakan Pak Radian.
Baik, terima kasih Ibu Grace atas waktunya. Jadi memang di dalam Peraturan Presiden Nomor 34 Tahun 2022 itu mengamanatkan terkait pemantauan, evaluasi, dan pelaporan dari Rencana Aksi Kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia. Kemudian dari amanat peraturan presiden tersebut, kita menyusun apa yang disebut dengan Peraturan Menteri Koordinator Bidang Kemaritiman dan Investasi yang mengatur mengenai pedoman pelaksanaan, pemantauan, evaluasi, pelaporan, dan penyesuaian rencana aksi kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia tahun 2021-2025, di mana di dalam salah satu bab Peraturan Presiden Nomor 34 bahwa pemantauan diselenggarakan untuk mendapatkan informasi terukur terhadap pelaksanaan program dan kegiatan rencana aksi KKI dan memastikan pelaksanaan rencana aksi KKI sesuai dengan perencanaan, serta mengidentifikasi kendala dan permasalahan pelaksanaan rencana aksi KKI dan mendapatkan gambaran perkembangan pelaksanaan program dan kegiatan rencana aksi KKI. Di sini terdapat pengaturan mengenai mengidentifikasi kendala dan permasalahan, dan di dalam Permenko ini diatur suatu tim yang nantinya ikut bagaimana menyelesaikan permasalahan kendala yang ada. Kemudian pemantauan ini dilaksanakan secara berkala atau sewaktu-waktu apabila diperlukan. Dan pemantauan dilaksanakan terhadap laporan yang disampaikan oleh Kementerian Lembaga penanggung jawab program dan kegiatan rencana aksi kepada Kementerian Koordinator Bidang Kemaritiman dan Investasi. Laporan tersebut dilaksanakan secara berkala pada bulan ke-6, bulan ke-9, dan bulan ke-12 setiap tahun melalui apa yang disebut dengan sistem informasi elektronik yang sekarang kita menggunakan dengan sistem monitoring evaluasi yang ada di kantor staf kepresidenan. Di dalam laporan tersebut, dalam hal mendesak dan diperlukan, dapat disampaikan sewaktu-waktu oleh Kementerian Lembaga penanggung jawab program dan kegiatan rencana aksi. Laporan yang disampaikan oleh Kementerian Lembaga meliputi perkembangan capaian pelaksanaan program dan kegiatan dalam rencana aksi KKI dan data dukung yang diperlukan dan relevan. Dan terhadap laporan yang disampaikan oleh Kementerian Lembaga dilakukan verifikasi oleh tim pelaksana teknis. Itu sesuai dengan apa yang menjadi concern dari penanya. Kemudian dalam hal diperlukan verifikasi, dilakukan dengan peninjauan lapangan ke lokasi, pelaksanaan program dan kegiatan rencana aksi KKI. Dalam prakteknya kita coba identifikasi yang sifatnya strategis untuk agar kita bisa melihat bukti-bukti dukung dalam yang dilampirkan dalam pelaporan yang disampaikan kepada sistem monitoring evaluasi yang ada di kantor presidenan. Dan peninjauan lapangan ke lokasi, pelaksanaan program dan kegiatan rencana aksi dilaksanakan berdasarkan penugasan dari yang disebut dengan Ketua Tim Pelaksana Teknis. Kemudian terhadap hasil pelaporan yang telah diverifikasi tadi, kita melakukan evaluasi diselenggarakan untuk mengukur capaian pelaksanaan program dan kegiatan rencana KKI dan menentukan tindak lanjut yang diperlukan untuk penyelesaian permasalahan dan kendala pelaksanaan rencana aksi KKI tersebut, dan memastikan Kementerian Lembaga melaksanakan program dan kegiatan dalam rencana aksi KKI. Demikian mungkin penjelasan dari kami, Bu Grace, waktu dan tempat kami kembalikan.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Pak Radian atas jawabannya. Jadi memang pada dasarnya kementerian dan lembaga lah yang menyampaikan laporan evaluasi ya tadi Pak Radian sudah menjelaskan di bulan ke-6, 9, dan 12 yang mana ini juga disampaikan melalui sistem monitoring dan evaluasi dari kantor staf presiden atau dari KSP. Terima kasih Pak Radian. So I would like to get back to Hendrik. There are two questions that maybe you can answer in this round. The first question is from Nilam Sari. She asked about does ocean sustainability that you talked about earlier also include global agreement between countries in its implementation? And you can answer about the link between global agreements and national implementation. And maybe the second question from Dharma Agastya about in terms of ocean governance coordination, how can we expect the administration to tackle bureaucratic turf wars among maritime security agencies? I think for this question, you can share us the experience from Norway on how you manage the collaborative efforts among all of the different various maritime security agencies. Please, Henrik, time's yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Two very important questions, and I'm very happy to try to answer both of them. First of all, the link between the global and the national level, that's absolutely crucial when it comes to the ocean, because we share the ocean, and it's very important that we take care of the waters that we control around our own countries within our exclusive economic zones. But of course, ocean problems, they don't respect borders, national borders. So what happens in one country affects very quickly 10 neighboring countries or the whole ocean. So that's why we need a combination of global agreements and national implementation. That means that also the work of the panel, we take existing global agreements as the point of departure. So Pahavas mentioned UNCLOS, the mother of all the ocean agreements. So that's an extremely important basis to respect those rules. Then we have the Paris Agreement on climate. We had an agreement in Montreal on preserving biodiversity, and a number of other agreements. The SDGs, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the 2030 Agenda. So all these are starting points for what we are doing. Then a very important reminder is that we can reach global agreements, but implementation is the responsibility of individual countries. And this is complicated because we don't have a global sort of government that can impose. Well, we have the Security Council, which can make binding decisions, but apart from that, we don't have very strong international institutions that can demand or instruct countries to do things. So then it's really, and that's of course a dilemma, because in some instances, especially in the areas where we are strong believers, we would like to have a strong international regime. But in other areas where we think that we don't want anybody else to decide, we don't want too strong institutions. So Pahavas is an expert on this. So this is a real dilemma, and there's no simple solution to that. So what the panel can do then is to say that, okay, we have these international agreements. How do we translate that into sensible ocean policy? And then we make commitments together and we recommend. But then the individual countries must implement. And that's a critical stage where we are in the process of the Ocean Panel, that for the credibility of the exercise, countries like Norway, Indonesia, and others need to implement what we have agreed. And for that, we are doing some progress reports. We have done our first progress report. We will do a next one next year to see exactly to what extent is Indonesia implementing what we have agreed in the panel. And then we ask, of course, Indonesia and Norway to explain what we have done since last time. And then we will look at that. But again, it's sort of, this is not the police. So we have to collect this information and then hope that that can create some pressure to implement even more. And just one example, this summer, there was a very important agreement by the International Maritime Organization on reducing emission from shipping. Shipping, as John Kerry says, if shipping was a country, it would be the 8th largest CO2 emitter in the world. And as we know, sea transport is increasing, so the emissions will increase if we don't impose restrictions on ships for emissions. So an important agreement was reached, and now it's up to the countries to implement. But the final point on global agreements is that the Ocean Panel also is proactive towards international processes. Before the Montreal Agreement on COP15 on biodiversity, the Ocean Panel put together policy advice that then individual panel members could use in those negotiations. And same in the BBNJ negotiations, the biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, a very important other agreement. Again, the Ocean Panel was very positive to that process and helped member countries to come up with good positions that they can present around the negotiation table. And same with the process now with the plastics debris, a very important new agreement which is under negotiation. Again, the Ocean Panel is very positive that there is this process, and we will put good suggestions on the table. And final, the other question, which is extremely important on turf wars. Of course, we don't have turf wars in Norway. That was a joke. Every country has that. And of course, it's a reflection of the complexity of the ocean issue. As Pahava said, just to define what is the blue economy, is there's no clear definition. And we know that there's so many stakeholders involved. And also, then I would say that this is learning by doing. It will not be perfect in the first round. Norway is now preparing our 5th ocean management plan. And we realize that we are learning as we go along. We've been doing this for 20 years, and still it's far from perfect. It's a cumbersome process, but you have to have everybody around the table. And one way of maybe reducing turf wars is to respect the perspectives of the different agencies, because they have different roles in our systems, and they bring to the table, and then try to massage so that we go in the right direction. And there, having an Ocean Panel where we can share this experience between 17 countries is a very helpful way to inspire us to move forward. And that's why it's unfortunate that Andrew cannot make the presentation from Mexico, because I remember I heard a couple of presentations earlier, and he explains exactly this, how this bringing the agencies together, and that in itself has been extremely important. Not perfect the first round, but gradually getting there. So learning by doing is in life in general, it's a good approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hendrik, for your elaborative answer. So I would like to go to Pahafas. You've been answering some of the questions in the question and answer box. Thank you very much. But it's really interesting about your opinion on how we are leading in the ICE forum. And could you elaborate more on how is Indonesia leading for the ocean governance in ICE forum, and also how is blue economy implemented in the eastern part of Indonesia? And there's a new question for you about budget allocations for blue economy action plan or roadmap at the provincial levels. So maybe 3 questions, Excellency, if you may.
Yeah, I think I will start with budget allocations at the provincial levels. I want to be again frank. I like to have frank discussions. We were doing 2 good things at the same time, which in some area proven not so good. What I'm saying is that when we had a political reforms back in 1999, post autocratic government, we did a major democratization into our political system. They have a review of the change of the constitution, human rights element in the constitutions, the new political laws, new democratic laws, military going to the barrack, separation of military and the police, etc., etc., etc. Establishment of constitutional courts, taking out the judiciary from the Ministry of Justice, regular open elections. Many countries were amazed that we were managed to transition ourselves from autocracy to democracy smoothly. And if you look at the Middle East today, it's not so the case. You see in Myanmar actually backsliding. So, we are quite successful. We also conducted what we call the regionalizations. Okay. So regionalizations means all the big powers that used to stay in Jakarta are now regionalized to the local governments. So Jakarta only has the power on defense, finance. That's it. Okay.
Foreign policy, maybe.
Yeah, foreign policy, yeah, correct. Yeah, foreign policy, just a treat. So when we talk about budget allocation for the local government, so I think the role of local government should be strengthened in the sense that they should also be able to devise a plan within their own budgeting on the on the ocean issue. I remember when we were discussing about marine plastic debris, waste management, we were having big difficulties in financing it because waste and waste collections is not anymore from Jakarta, but local government. And local government means cities, regencies, kabupaten, okay, and if you look at the different kabupaten around Indonesia, they have a different priority, and some of them have a very small budget on waste management. Now, if Ministry of Finance wants to drop money outside of the budgetary regulations to help reduce the problem of plastic going to the sea and waste management, that we are actually violating the law. Okay, although we are having a good intention. So I think it is a responsibility also of the local government to put into the budgeting the element of ocean economy. So I think it should not all be given to the central government, or should not be blamed to the central government, because the local government has taken major powers to themselves. And also, most importantly, politically, local leaders are not elected through elections. They are public officials. So they have their responsibility at the local level to show to their constituency, to the people that they have elected them, that they know what they're doing. So I think this is a political exercise. I think not only in Indonesia, but also in democracy as well. I mean, if you look at the fight between Disneyland and the governor in Florida, it clearly shows that the local government, central government, and local industries have different interests altogether. So this is, I think, the most important aspect in terms of the local government. So if they are able to properly allocate the activity, I think the central government will not be having problems for this issue. Now, on this matter, in terms of program that we established with Germany, we try to do it differently now. So we invite the local governments, province governments, what are projects that they have in mind for green infrastructure. We have discussed with them, and then they discuss with Bappenas, and then the project will be curated by Bappenas, and will discuss within Bappenas and the German Ministry of Economic Development, BMZ. And then they decided what are the projects, and then the finance come from Germany, go to the Minister of Finance, and they will go to the local government. So it's possible, and it's been done before. So I think this is a very good example of bottom-up approach in terms of financing for green projects in Indonesia, which I think can be replicated in the Blue initiative as well, right? So I think that's one. What are the two questions again?
How is Indonesia leading in the ICE program?
Yeah, first of all, it was Indonesia's idea to organize the archipelagic and island countries, and I think the member of the island countries are widespread across the world, and they come from different level of economic development. And I think, therefore, we provide at least leadership in terms of giving example, how we organize our ocean. Of course, the way we organize our oceans is not the same. We are huge, so big, and therefore, and complex as well. 280 million population, complex political system. So our governance model may not necessarily be the ideal for smaller countries, because in the Pacific, when we talk about smaller country, it's really small, population 80,000. There would be Kecamatan Tebet, no, Kelurahan kali ya. So it's in that way, that kind of leadership, and also bringing different players together, making networks, examples, different projects. So that, I think, it's the leadership that we can play. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe a last question, Excellency, because this is really interesting when you talk about the eastern part of Indonesia. The amount of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing there is quite one of the highest in the country. But also, at the same time, we need to implement blue economy and protect all the biodiversity there. So in your opinion, how are we going to do this? Should we really put more efforts in the eastern of Indonesia, or we the central government should lead the implementation of blue economy in the eastern part?
I think there are two issues I mentioned. Number one is the issue of the amount of fish themselves. I think with very strong anti-IUU fish activities in Indonesia, the number of tuna is increased exponentially. But the problem is the storage, and the problem is the marketing. I want to share with you this news. So, Pak Hendrik and colleague who is not speaking Bahasa Indonesia, this is a news about fishermen from North Maluku who buried the tuna, 2 tons, because the fish are abundant. They can catch them easily with just traveling 3 nautical miles, 4 nautical miles from the shore. But when they catch the fish, they don't have the storage. So this is one aspect that the partners like Norway and other, Pak Hendrik, can also look at the eastern part of Indonesia. We have worked with one innovator in Germany. This guy, he builds ice storage where the blade is a replica of the wings of an owl, a burung hantu. So the blade turns very fast with low energy, with no noise, and it produces ice blocks, and it can produce 4 degrees Celsius, so it can keep the fish colder. Then the question then is connecting all the different dots for the marketing and collecting all the fish. So I think logistics. So it is, of course, both central government's issue, pollution economy, but also the local government is again in this regard needs also to look at how they manage the logistics around the place, because once again it is part of the regionalization policy, regionalization law. So I think regional government should also be responsible for organizing collection points, organizing logistics, building maybe small ports, inviting investors, for instance, to collect the fish with the time, using new application, for instance, data applications. So fishermen can be equipped with an app. They go to the sea, they get the tuna, they can report to the app, and then from the application, all the spots are identified. Ships can come and collect. It's possible. Technology is possible. I think it's a question of how you do it effectively. Yeah, but it's not a mission impossible.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Pak Hafaz, for your really elaborative explanation. And thank you once again, Hendrik. Terima kasih banyak, Pak Radian, untuk paparannya. We are really grateful that you can speak on this webinar. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu yang sudah bergabung secara Zoom. Kalau boleh, sebelum saya menutup webinar pada hari ini, saya akan sampaikan beberapa poin penting yang menjadi kesimpulan kita pada hari ini, yaitu yang pertama, tata kelola kelautan yang berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan memerlukan setidaknya 3 elemen penting. Yang pertama yaitu pengetahuan dan keilmuan, knowledge and science. Yang kedua, kebijakan atau peraturan, policy, dan yang ketiga adalah action atau pelaksanaan. Untuk knowledge and science, di Ocean Panel atau High Level Panel for Sustainable Ocean Economy sudah juga berkontribusi atau mendukung negara-negara anggota dengan beberapa produk knowledge and science, pengetahuan yang sudah dikeluarkan sejak 2020 hingga saat ini. Dan untuk kebijakan, tadi Pak Hafaz sudah menjelaskan mengenai bagaimana Perpres KKI atau Kebijakan Kelautan Indonesia dapat menjadi framework atau acuan dari kebijakan-kebijakan lainnya yang dikeluarkan oleh berbagai kementerian dan lembaga. Dan tadi juga Pak Radian lebih dalam lagi menjelaskan bagaimana Perpres KKI itu mempunyai 7 pilar utama, lalu juga indikator untuk mengukur kinerja dari KKI dan juga renaksi yang sudah dirancang untuk berbagai kementerian dan lembaga. Dan juga untuk action yang ketiga, Pak Hafaz sangat menekankan pada financing, bahwa pembiayaan untuk semua program yang sudah dirancang tadi itu sangat penting, dan bagaimana peran dari pemerintah daerah atau local government itu harus diperkuat. Dan tadi ada masukan mengenai collaborative efforts atau upaya-upaya yang harus menyatukan berbagai kementerian lembaga dan juga stakeholders di dalam upaya untuk mencapai tata kelola kelautan yang berkelanjutan dan berkeadilan. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu atas partisipasinya. Sebelum menutup, saya mohon izin kepada seluruh panelis untuk berfoto bersama. So Hendrik, if you would like, you've opened your camera already. We would like to have a photo session. And for all the company here, can you please open your camera so that we can take a picture together? Baik. Saya akan memberikan aba-aba untuk di screenshot. Oke. Ya. 1. Oke, ada lagi yang mau nyalain kamera maybe sebelum, ya udah ya. Oke, 1, 2, 3. Sekali lagi, 1, 2, 3. Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Hafaz, Mr. Hendrik, thank you very much Pak Radian, dan juga Bapak Ibu yang sudah hadir di webinar kedua hari ini. I wish you all the very best, take care, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Terima kasih. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Makasih Pak Hafaz, makasih Pak Radian.